Well, is the story. Right, Dean, I know you were late coming in, so we actually started chatting without you. Go on, Jimmy, what were you saying about the last 30 days of the league? Let's just cut the shit and get straight into
the last 30 days of the league. I mean, look, there were so many ways I could come into this feature, and good evening to anybody listening. Everybody else has had time to prep except Dean, because we just kind of torment him that way, but more of that. I was going to look at the fixtures. I was going to look at the performance so far. I was going to look at trending, but I think what's more important than that is what will now be our bi-weekly Fabian Schär update. As you can see in the background, I have added a lovely picture of our very own Dean, and he's giving Fabian Schär a little rub on the head because he's his favourite. So, week 1, Fabian Schär got -5 points, sent off, and a 3-match ban. Week 2 and 3, he got 0. Week 4, he scored really brilliantly with a 16.75, but unfortunately, because Dean's team was illegal that week, he got a 0. And this week, returning to form, he landed Dean all of -2 points. So to you, Mr. Ahern, I ask the question, do you still stand by your man?
I'm
sorry, but that's the greatest intro.
Brilliant. That's, yeah. To quote Jack Grealish, hang it in the Louvre.
Well, I don't like Gibbs White
Brilliant.
got a fucking red card, a straight red, didn't he? No, a second yellow, which means
a second yellow.
2 games. So I could have gotten rid of Schär this week, who will be starting next week.
I want to go back.
I could have gotten rid of Gibbs White, or I could have gotten rid of Gibbs White, who will be getting me 0 points. So maybe, John, in your infinite wisdom, considering your forwards struggle to get more than 10 points every single week, but you've still played all of them, maybe you can explain to me why I should keep a player who's guaranteed to get me 0 points for the next 2 weeks over a player who might get me minus points, has gotten me minus points in the past, but is definitely not going to get me a guaranteed 0. Come on,
considering who they're playing.
You frowned about me bringing in Duran last week because his Ollie Watkins backup. He came up and scored. He also, up until last week, had more points than all of your players combined, bar Rashford. So
he hasn't had any more points than any of my players, any of my forwards by Rashford, because that's included in my forwards.
No, but anyway, combined up until week 5, combined points, Duran had more points than all of your
up until that's past tense. Up until.
We can only talk about past tense. How are we supposed to do a review of fantasy football without speaking in the past tense? That's what a review is.
Correct.
Lads, I'm just going to go and grab some popcorn because this is prime time.
Fantastic.
You had an illegal team like 2 weeks ago because you went out to set you, forgot to set your lineup and had an illegal team.
I think, to be fair, in the interest,
get off my dressing gown for this.
Oh God. The gown is off.
Okay. Well, yeah, the gloves are off now, lads.
The gown is down. In the interest of this remaining a gentlemanly, if not Gaulish league, I think that the reasons for an illegal team should only be mentioned once. In this case, just so we're clear, it was a minor administrative error and an attempt to play a 13-man starting lineup. It could have happened to anyone. It happened Bradford in, I think it was 98. Except it didn't, because that's insane. Anyway, look, we'll move on. I think Dean's late arrival being punished with being berated is.
So, I believe that in the first round of last season, you started a player who wasn't even in the Premier League.
That's true. That's true. A game week 1 illegal team was an interesting strategy. But anyway, now that that's Fabian Schär out of the way, I would submit to you, Dean, that possibly taking a guaranteed 0 for Gibbs White might actually have been a safer bet than continuing to play Fabian Schär. Nonetheless, I will drop the point now. I will stop labouring it. I'm going to take down the lovely picture I made of the two of you enjoying a special moment.
Yeah. Okay. So Rodri got hurt.
Yeah.
And it comes 2 weeks after he basically went out and said that there is a potential for footballers to go on strike because they're getting injured more often because they're playing too much football. Does he have a point?
the irony behind this is that this was his first full game this season since the Euros, and he goes out and gets himself crocked, albeit not his own fault. It was a clash with another player, with Partey, I think it was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So it's one of these innocuous things of, oh, I fell awkwardly and I've done my knee for the 9 months. But it's a bit ironic that he didn't play 10 games in 2 weeks and then do his knee. He's actually come back from a nice long break, well rested, and this has happened to him. So, no, I don't actually think he does have a point here. I'm sorry, but if anyone on 150 plus K a week moans about having to run around a pitch for 90 minutes twice a week and train in between, get another job.
Have you not seen how much? Yeah, but have you not seen how much more football they're playing at the moment? Like since COVID, you had 2 truncated seasons because you had one season had to be extended. Then you had a summer World Cup, and then since then you've had 2 summer tournaments. So and now you've also the Nations League, which is another 6 games per season internationals, and the Champions League has changed, which means if you get to the finals of the new format of the Champions League, you're going to play another 10 games. Also, the Euros was expanded, so that meant another 3 games. So that means a professional player could end up playing for 11 months of the season if they end up playing in Euro qualifiers and potentially play up to 90 matches of football, which is insane.
John, yeah, and so I'll take it back a step. I would agree. You can't dispute there's more football being played. 100%. That's understand that bears out the figures. And with the new Champions League format, which is a totally different discussion, yes, there are more games being played. However, let's look at Man City being the most successful English team over the last 10 years. They could easily put out 2 teams that would win or at least compete in all competitions. Yeah. So you not only have double the amount of games being played by teams, you've also got double the amount of players in squads. So when you actually net it out, is there much of a difference? So not really. Then you take into account the amount of extra health, the extra physios that come in, all the kind of the sports therapies, all the extra nutrition pieces that come in. The training facilities are 100 times better than they were even 10 years ago. All of this does feed into players being able to play at their peak physical for longer. Yeah. You can't turn around and say players are playing too much on one hand, and then on another turn around and go, Jesus, isn't Luka Modric great because at age 39 he's able to run around the pitch for 90 minutes?
Yeah. And also, let's not pretend that when these guys finish training, they go home and drink a protein shake. Like, they're all getting, if they're not getting like professional massages by the physios, like, they have their own guys who they hire themselves who probably come around the house, give them rub downs. Like we saw on the overlap there during the week that Gary Neville was saying that he has his own ice bath at home. Like these guys absolutely have got like whatever about what they're getting provided by them provided by the teams. They've definitely got like top tier, like facilities and like kind of like I said, massage therapists and physiotherapists that the rest.
It is also true that the amount of games that a player misses now because of injuries increased. The volume.
Yeah. Like John, like when you were like playing at your peak, like how often were you training? Were you training 4 days a week with a match on the weekend? And you didn't have it anywhere near, and you were also probably going to the gym in your own time as well.
But also at my peak is Limerick amateur junior mid-division, so we're not
playing football.
Yeah, but you also didn't employ your own team of physios and masseuses to look at.
Yeah, don't get me wrong.
Or maybe you did. I don't know.
You did.
Don't get me wrong. I was a fucking donkey. Like, I'm not a good footballer. This is why we do this. No, none of us here are. We're all shit. That's just reality. But we would have trained.
It's not like running on a football pitch, John, affects the
and we would have trained
more than it affects you.
We would have trained 3 nights a week with a match once a week. And to be honest, your body would be fucked.
Yeah, your body would be fucked. But when you're hopping into fucking ice baths and fucking getting hydrotherapy and getting probably fucking technology and shit that I don't even know that exists right now. And like Gary said, the managers can rotate the team. They can do that,
City
I think for a team like City, for a team like City and a player like Rodri to come out and start saying, "Oh, we're going to go on strike and look at me and throw my toys out of the pram."
Yeah,
that's a bit rich. That's a bit rich. You look at teams like let's look at Villa as a perfect example because they've just qualified for the Champions League for the first time since its rebrand from the European Cup. Probably haven't been in Europe since the 80s, 90s. They won't have a squad. They don't have the money to invest in a squad that has 16 players who can potentially start at a Champions League elite level. They probably don't even have a team of 11 that can compete with an elite team like Madrid, City, Bayern, etc. in that Champions League. If they get to the quarterfinals, they'll be delighted.
They're not going up against them.
No, but they're going to suffer. They'll be suffering in December.
Yeah. The solution to all of this seems to be an incredibly wealthy club that can hire 2 squads and a whole load of. Is this not just reinforced?
That's what's happening.
Rich and poor?
1-1-5.
Yeah. Does City have a bit of money knocking around? They do. What? Are we allowed to talk about that yet? No, we're not allowed to talk about that yet. Never mind.
Well, they're in court now.
Yeah, but I don't want to be. Not for a while yet, anyway. But yeah, look, there were. I saw this, and like the question then becomes, what's the solution? And I saw some crazy suggestions, like maybe if there were bigger squads or a limit to the number of games each player can play. But the problem then is what you actually have is clubs merging, because City then buy 2 squads worth of players. They have an A team and a B team for the Champions League versus the Carabao. Yeah, exactly. And this just kind of solidifies that. So I don't see if there's an easy solution to this short of have less competitions, but every competition has its own round of envelope people making things happen, don't they?
It goes deep in the Champions League. There's an extra 10 games now per season.
Yeah,
the Nations League has added an extra 6 games per season, and in the summer they expanded the Euros by, was it 4 countries or something like that, which added another round of fixtures onto it. So you're after essentially
the World Club Championship,
World Club as well,
the World Club Cup. So if you're one of those teams, that's another potentially 6 games on top of that, and that's all in the same time.
It'd be more again,
but it's in the same time period. Yeah. Like there's no more time in the year. So that's it. That's potentially for a team playing at the top level, a player who's good with a good international team and a good club team that could go far in any of those competitions. They're essentially playing 3 times a week for 48 weeks of the year.
I wish that was true, John, but they're not playing 48 or fucking 3 times a week. Like they're playing probably 2 or 3 times in 2 weeks, I would say.
For a team, so for a team like someone like Villa, if they were to go and compete and get to the end of every competition that they're in, yes, that would happen because they don't have the squad depth. That's fine. How realistic is it that a team like Villa are going to get that far? Not very. Now you could argue that's because they don't have the squad.
Newcastle went into Europe last year and they were essentially emaciated then come November for the rest of the season.
Which is exactly what's going to happen to Villa, and it kind of makes Dean's point about Duran earlier on completely null and void. But it also makes
Rodri's point of there's too much football, despite whatever they're earning. No.
I think Gary is just pissed off at Rodri for getting hurt because Rodri is on Gary's team.
Maybe.
And that's okay, Gary. Everybody sucks sometimes.
And also,
I see. I'm not used to sucking. That's the problem.
Yeah, but the thing is, didn't you try to fob him off?
Me?
Rodri?
Yes, I did.
Yes, you did. You just tried to fob him off, man.
I don't remember.
One of our
I
listeners
did try to do it. I did try to fob him off on the newbie. Yes, I did.
The newbie has to learn.
It was just out of surgery.
That's the only way you'll learn.
On an ACL, how fucking cruel do you want to be to the
Who are you talking?
You just got yours sorted. Bye.
You know that I can be the cruelest player in this.
What did you offer him, Gary? Or did you just?
I offered him Rodri.
No, but like, what did you like? How did you try to sell it to him?
It was just like my defense is terrible and your midfield is terrible. Let's do a deal. And because I've got so many good midfielders, I can afford to lose the best midfielder from last season. Give me Kanate, please. I didn't even look for like an A-list player. I looked. It'd be different if I went looking for, I don't know, Trent Alexander-Arnold.
Yeah.
But
that will not happen at all this season. You can present an offer.
No, it won't. No, it won't. I totally get that won't happen unless I give you someone like Cole Palmer, which is not going to happen.
I will offer you Phil Jones for Cole Palmer.
Let me think about that.
He's going to go.
And if you have a Harry Maguire to throw in, that might even sweeten the deal.
Harry Maguire isn't real. We've all talked. We all know Harry Maguire isn't
We've
real.
all spoken about this.
Ian,
But just to close out that conversation around too many teams and the solution, Jimmy. For anyone who doesn't know, I am a fan of the American football. I am a big New England Patriots fan, and they handle things like this with salary cap. So you can only spend a certain amount of money on wages and so on and so forth. While the Premier League and football has started moving towards that with this not financial fair play, whatever the other one is, FPL or whatever it's called. I couldn't remember the last time. Can't remember this time.
Yes,
The sustainability thing, isn't it?
Sustainability thing, yeah. If you put something that's hard and fast in that you have to have a salary cap and you have to have a squad of 28, 29, 30 players, and that's evenly across all of the teams in the Premier League, everyone's competing on the same level, that goes some way to balancing it out. So City can't go out and spend 300 million on one team and 300 million on another team and pay everybody 150 grand a week.
If that's the output of this, then Erling Haaland is going to devour Rodri. And he will have in front of a gang with pitchforks and flaming torches.
And we all know he will do it.
we will get back to Haaland and his tantrums there in a bit.
Yay!
I want to talk about that a bit later, but I actually have a question for you first. Did any of you look at the first weekend of the WSL? So I've decided that this season I'm going to pick a team in the Women's League and just follow them for the rest of the season. Are we up for making this a thing?
Absolutely.
Yeah. It'll be Liverpool for me for obvious reasons. But
Obvious.
She-Gulls here, Brighton all the way.
So, ignorant question, but do Brighton have a women's team?
They do.
Yes, they do.
Actually, quite good.
They do. Really strong one as it happens.
They're quite good. I know Dean is going to pick United, so I will take Arsenal women as my team for the season.
Funny, I keep an eye on Arsenal women purely because of Katie McCabe, being a dub and obviously being the captain of the Republic of Ireland women's team.
Loves the booking.
Good shout.
Loves
a good tackle and loves an booking. So
my friend Sarah is possibly the biggest WSL fan I know.
Right in her first as well this season, you know.
Yep. Young'un scored a hat trick against Everton last week.
Nice.
What was her name? Kiko? Is it Kiko? I don't remember her name. Yeah, Kiko Seiki.
Yeah, no, I was saying my friend Sarah is a big WSL fan, so we have a blog now up on the website if anybody is looking at the WSL FPL model. So we were looking at best players to draft, having a kind of a deep dive on the squads. And Jimmy, the week before, actually had a look at some of the numbers surrounding women's football because we love numbers. Jimmy, talk to me.
Yeah, it was really interesting because it's hard to do a straight comparison between the women and the men because they don't play against each other, which sounds kind of self-evident, but it actually makes quite a big difference. So you hear all this stuff about the standard being different and the athleticism being different and blah, 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 blah. I don't care. I don't care who's a good footballer. I care if your strikers are putting the thing in the hole and if your defenders and goalies are keeping the thing out of the hole. So I had a look. And it turns out that the women's team are actually better per game, the top striker, right? Erling Haaland.
Yeah, Erling Haaland came second in terms of most efficient Premier League striker last year.
He came second. Yeah, it was just short of 1 goal a game, which is, an outstanding achievement and all the rest of it. But he was at 0.7 goals per game, whereas Khadija Shaw, also for City, scored 1.17 goals per game. You can't take overall advantages. Maybe it lends disadvantages. I don't care. It's just numbers. The most effective goal scorer for time on the pitch in last year's English football was a woman.
And when we look at the top 10, 5 men, 5 women.
And it doesn't stop there. Top 10 has third. Aggie Beaver-Jones, also Chelsea, is 6th. Liz Turland at Brighton, but I believe she's gone to Man United now, at 7th. And Alessia Russo at 9th. And the 5 men on goals per game, as a pure stat, were Haaland, Isaac, Palmer, Salah, and Foden. So there you go. The women are as good at scoring. So then I thought, hey, let's go further. What if it's just because the defense is rubbish in women's games? Can't check player by player, really, because it takes more than one player to keep goals out. But I had a look at clean sheets per game. What? It's 5 women's teams and 5 men's teams at the top. Arsenal teams, both United teams, Liverpool men's, Everton men's, with more on that in a second, and Chelsea women were the 10 least leaky defenses game by. You know, are we going to put the Man City women's against Man City men's and expect them to win a match? No. But if we were able to draft them, there are some serious assets to be had there. The numbers do not lie. So there you go, boys. The women are as good as the men at fantasy football. Over to you. Dino looks upset.
Huh?
I'm surprised at it. I will genuinely put my hand up and go, yeah, I am really, really surprised at that. I have to say I have been kind of following, particularly after the World Cup where England lost in the final, which is always great fun, regardless of whether it's a men's or a women's team. But ever since then, and particularly since Ireland qualifying, I have been kind of following the women's game a little bit more. Yes, you can argue it's not as physical and it's not as fast and so on and so forth, and that's all fine. But technically, it's actually quite enjoyable to watch, and I find that there is a lot more. It's a lot more tactical than what the men's game is, and I actually quite enjoy that side of the game. I always have done, maybe because I couldn't run 5 meters without losing a feckin' long when I played myself, but I always preferred the tactical side of it. And I have found just keeping an eye more on international football, I will admit, than club football. But I think this idea of keeping an eye on it, as we've discussed, I am absolutely up for it.
Yeah.
The only downside, statistically speaking, is that it's a 22-week season. So you've got to decide whether to take the risk on having a dead August, September, then a nice spread out couple of scores every couple of weeks, because they don't do manic December either. It's 2 weeks between games. And then you have to dump those players in the last couple of weeks of the season. So it adds another strategic depth to things for anybody who chooses to commission mixed leagues next year. Yep. I said it out loud. Whoops.
We can talk about things. There is things we can talk about now.
We can talk about this. So, it would be nice to have the option of drafting women's players either on their own or mixed in with the men's or just the men's. So here at Statr Draft, we're going to give you that option. Quite happy to be the first fantasy football competition for the WSL. We see no reason not to include the women. I think far too long football used to be not great at including women, and that's just not how we roll here. Plus, it gives us more game to play. And we like
it gives us more players, as you said. It adds that advantage, and it makes sense.
If there's a player who's outscoring Erling Haaland, I am all up for drafting them.
Fuck you, Dean.
Sorry, Jimmy. Maybe one for next week. But if there is a WSL equivalent of Fabian Schär, maybe we should look at that too.
If she's out there, I will find her.
You'll find her.
No, so basically my mate there, she helped me actually look at drafting players who are freshly signed to their clubs, and I got some interesting takes. So obviously there's actually a few household names here, so I'm just going to give you some highlights. Jimmy Seagulls have actually signed Fran Kirby this summer, so she was probably one of the most successful players in the women's game ever. She's one of the household names because she was one of the Lionesses who obviously won the Euros and lost in that final. So she has
Chelsea as well, I believe, wasn't she?
She was part of that Emma Hayes team that basically became the second most successful women's team of all time, behind only Lyon, who are essentially the Real Madrid of women's football. They see rock on, win the Champions League, and fuck off. That's what Lyon do. So I think that was actually Emma Hayes' only trophy that she didn't get her hands on was the Champions League.
Champions League.
So Fran Kirby going to Brighton is huge. You've got Lucy Bronze, who's after going to Chelsea. So she's basically won it all. She's played for Liverpool, City, Lyon, Barcelona. Been there, done that, every trophy in the catalogue she's got, and she's after going to Chelsea in their new era. We've got City doing City things. So the all-time leading goal scorer of the WSL ever, Vivian Medina, sorry, I butchered the name there. She's after signing for City, so she's becoming their new, giant Viking up front. And then Man United, who possibly had the worst summer ever in the women's game. Did you hear about this? So they signed Dominique Janssen. They had a type, basically a tall Dutch defender who played in Germany to plug a leaky defence. Dominique Janssen, Matthias de Ligt. So they signed her from Wolfsburg.
Who? Wolfsburg?
Wolfsburg in Germany, Dean.
Oh, Wolfsburg.
Rar.
Yeah. So that's
That
a lot
was
of
my
household
Scary
names
Wolf,
after
by
me.
the way. Scary Wolf.
Oh, that was terrible.
Absolutely.
But yeah, the story about the City women or the United women was mental. So they basically, the men are getting a new changing room. So the women's changing facilities, their training ground got redeveloped last season. So they had like state-of-the-art new place to go train. The men's one is currently under construction for this season. So they basically got fucked back into porta cabins.
You're kidding me.
No. They're now going training at St. George's Park, the England setup that's in somewhere in the Midlands or whatever. But yeah.
That's the kind of story you would think we were past.
What are you going to do? Anyway, on to
It's just part of a bigger discussion around Man United and their facilities in general. But still shocking.
Yeah, careful, Gary. I can feel the atmosphere in the room just got a little bit tense there when you mentioned how terrible United are. Like, Dino is really getting piled on here this evening. It's just not fair.
Yes.
I got my Leicester jersey on this evening.
Leicester this week. Good lad.
You can have a go about that. I'm part of the Jamie Vardy party this week.
There ain't no party like a Jamie Vardy party.
2 cans of Red Bull, 2 of those snuff things, and just go running.
Chat shit. Get banged.
That's still one of the greatest fucking slogans. I think he's the only footballer who has a slogan.
Yeah.
Oh, well, there's stay humble. Stay humble, eh?
Yeah, actually,
Stay humble.
we talk about stay humble. Mikel Arteta is a dick and he can go fuck himself. I don't care. He deserves every bit of that. He's possibly the most arrogant manager in football. I'm having none of him. He's a poser. He's won nothing. He won an FA Cup with a squad that wasn't his in his first half a season and has done fuck all since. He's won nothing. And did you hear what he did over the summer? He brought all his players to a restaurant and had them pickpocketed. It was like, you have to be alert and concentrated all the time. No. Tosser. Not having it.
Didn't he get a dog as well and call it Win or something?
Yeah,
and
he did.
They also got an olive tree that was the team's responsibility to keep alive. But you know what? I mean, he's gotten second 2 years in a row. He's doing something right, but these weird...
He's not doing anything right. Ten Hag has more trophies than him. That's not saying that he's doing a good job. Mikel Arteta has a dusty cabinet, has won as much as Spurs. Congratulations, North London. You've taken fuck all home again.
Lads.
While he has an attitude problem about it, he can fuck himself. I'm not having it.
Imagine
Everything happens since he deserves.
Imagine the life as one of his players and having a manager who comes up with demented ideas and brings you all along on them. And
anyway,
here we are.
Carry on about business.
Look, whatever Arteta, you can hate Arteta all you want. Haaland's obnoxious.
Oh, Haaland is a wanker.
Oh, he is.
Actually, I wasn't a big fan of him before the Arsenal game, but after throwing the ball off Gabriel's head, I was just like, you're such an arrogant prick.
Yeah.
I really am not a fan of him. Oh. But you know what? I mean, you can be arrogant and also be likable. Like, for example, like Ibrahimovic, like he was so far up his own hole, but you almost got a kick out of it, But like this whole thing in football, which is one thing I really fucking hate about football, it's like if you don't get a yellow card or a red card on the pitch, well then it's like, okay, well then tough shit, we can't go back and look at it. But like, if that happened in rugby, if a player threw a ball at another player's head, they would be cited, and they would and I'm sure in other sports they have similar things. Like, it shouldn't be a case of, the referee blew his final whistle, that's it. We can't go back and review this. Like, why can't you? Why can't you go back and review it? I know then you have things like, like if somebody dived, it's like, oh, do we punish this person because
no, do it on the pitch. If the referee doesn't
like where do you end it, like, but I mean, for something like that, I mean, like, there should be some kind of
100%.
Yeah, but is the shit
it happens,
it's not part of the fun of football?
Huh?
Is the dark arts and just that general shithouser on the pitch not part of football? There's been plenty of times when I've been going up for a corner where I've slipped a slinky finger. Like, you just have to do it.
I know, but like I understand like things like even like the fucking Arsenal players, like even like the Arsenal players going down, pretending to have cramps and stuff like that. I understand it's part of football, and like not Kai Havertz, but Rodri in the first 4 seconds of the game where he went down after getting a tiny shove from Kai Havertz. I understand that's all part of the game, but like you don't get to use the excuse like, oh, it's the workman's game, or like it's a game for lads, to be unsportsmanlike. There's got to be a level of respect that comes with the game. There's shit
games of
like you said, there's shit housing. Like,
did a quick check there to see if I could identify scientifically and mathematically the reason that you can't go back and check a game after it's over, and this moment is the moment that English football fans decide to never, ever, ever review.
I have to do some admin stuff, so now the screen is showing.
Look familiar, gentlemen. This is the goal that never was in the 1966 World Cup final, putting England ahead 3-2. The ball did not cross the line. This is why the FA will never, ever review matches once the whistle is gone, because then they would owe us 60 years of not talking about 1966. That's my law.
Yeah, no, but like, I mean, like,
on that topic,
like things like goals and stuff like that, obviously you can't go back and review. Like, no sport does that. But if you should be able to punish a player in hindsight for,
Why? Fuck that. No.
Well, they used to. But the retrospective punishment has happened in the past. So again, going back to
retrospective action. Like, if you Eric Cantona kung fu kick a guy, yeah, fair enough.
Well, that was different because that was to a fan rather than to a fellow player. So that was always going to get. That was always
as far as racism stuff. Yeah, go deal with that. Like,
yeah,
but if it's part of the parcel of just the emotions of a game of football. Like, I've thrown a ball off a lad before playing a game. I've done worse. We all have. Let's not pretend here. That's part of the fun of football. Is the dickery. I have no problem with it. I have no problem with him throwing the ball off a fella in a game. That's a proper needle. And I have even less problem with him walking straight up to Mikel Arteta's face and going, stay humble, yeah? I know that's being a sore loser to an extent, but yeah, I have no issue with that at all.
No issue with that, but I do have an issue with the ball off the head, and I have an issue with the ball off the head. Yeah, yeah, I think it's just a lack. It's a lack of respect. It's just a complete lack of respect. I mean, if we're letting that happen, let's just bring it back to 1970.
What's up?
Where you can kick the snot out of people left, right, and center, and no one really gives a shit about it.
Yeah, but at the same stage, like half the tackles now that they give. And half the bookings, like last weekend in
John, you're comparing different things. You're comparing hard tackles and stuff. That's part of the game.
The most bookings in a Premier League weekend happened last week. Most of them were for nothing.
Yeah, but again, we're not talking about that. We're not talking about, like, in hindsight, punishing players for putting in a bad tackle.
14 bookings in a game, like they're. Like, Jesus Christ, if you're going back and refereeing a game at that point, you may as well ban everybody and not play them every second week.
Again, you're not listening. Like, we're not talking about going back in hindsight and punishing players or handing out yellow cards like 3 days after the match ended. We're talking about
what's the line?
Like, okay, so what if instead of Haaland spat in fucking Arteta's face? Would you say that so I saw a part and parcel game, such a bit of shithouse with?
No, that's just scummy.
Yeah, but myself and Gary think bouncing the ball off somebody's head after the ball went into his head.
What's the line?
What?
But what's the line?
It's wrong when Haaland does it.
Respect. The line is having respect for your opponent.
Yeah, you don't throw a ball at him. Fuck him.
Okay.
Especially like the amount of that they're happening anyway. Like, you may as well earn one.
No, it's the equivalent for me. Throwing the ball at someone's head is the equivalent of throwing a punch. It's just a lack of respect. There is a level of, and you're going to laugh when I say this, but there's a level of violence involved when you walk up to someone and just fire something at their head, be it a ball, be it whatever. Going up to somebody and talking shit in their face, that's part and parcel with every sport. I have no issue with that. I have no issue with sledging in any way, shape, or form when it comes to sport. When it comes to some sort of physical altercation outside of the game, it's wrong. It needs to be stamped out. I think that's John, you were mentioning about how last week was the highest for bookings in a Premier League week on record. You know, you can't turn around and say we're fine with people throwing balls off people's heads and then go, oh yeah, the game has gone soft because we're booking players for kicking a ball away. That's one extreme to the other. Either we're going full forward that, you know, disrespect getting booked. You're getting punished.
Both cases are technically true right now because that's the sorry state of referee we have.
Sorry, I missed that, John.
Both points are true. It's like you can throw a ball at a fella's head and get nothing, but if you roll a football away from a fella's foot, you'll get. That does need to be resolved. But that's my point. That someone like when somebody bounces a ball off your head, you do need to. I'm willing to cede on the ball. I'm willing to cede on the ball, but Haaland going up to Arteta and saying that is hilarious.
Oh, that's brilliant. Oh, yeah. No, I have no issue with that. I have zero issue with him going up and telling him to be humble. And Jimmy, I have no issue with him going up and cursing in his face and then calling Gabriel Jesus a clown. I have no issue with that either.
Yeah. You coined yourself a term, canceloed.
Yes. If this was in our discussion of Rodri last week, when the Rodri story was less about the poor man's leg being buggered and more about him talking about a player strike. And I pointed out that a player like Rodri in a squad with the depth of City could find himself being canceloed by Pep. But I'm pretty sure that at some point Pep is going to have to put manners on Erling Haaland. Like, he's an excellent player for what he does. He's outstanding. But that was 2 incidents in one game, and you can kind of, both are a grey area, and sometimes they're okay. You don't understand if you don't play the game, and some things happen on a pitch, and it's okay to shithouse and blah, blah, blah. Neither of them really portrays him as a particularly sportsman-like player. And I think there's an extra responsibility on the star of the moment to remember that they're a fucking role model for children. Like, the whole world is pointing cameras at Erling Haaland right now, and that's off the back of his skills and his abilities, and he's earned it. How he now carries himself is his responsibility. And at, 22 years old? I think he's getting past the point where he can be acting like a 15-year-old. So I just think he kind of let himself down, let his club down.
Wealthy fella for most of his career. Now Pep did sell him, but Kevin De Bruyne has this lovely image, but he's on a sulky shit too.
Look, there's none of them are androids. They are all passionate men. That's what drives people to get to the top of their profession. And playing from the City starting lineup is pretty as high as you can go right now, short of, I don't know, starting for Brazil or something. But you know, there is an individual responsibility to work on your personal brand, and again, to set an example. I mean, they walk out on the pitch with kids. There's kids seeing that going, that's an okay way to behave. If they perpetuate that, then the less charming and less classy side of football just gets further entrenched. And while that might be okay or something we can live with, I don't think it's something to cheer about. But that's your bleeding heart lefty comment on the whole issue for the week. What's up next?
Nah. I like the characters. I like the personalities. Like, the day of the Maverick is dying, especially if you play for Pep. Like, as much as I hate to say it, like Jack Grealish at Aston Villa at times was fucking fantastic to watch. Goes to City. It's like, you stay there and do this, and it was crap. And as much, again, as I hate to say it, Jack Grealish playing for England a couple weeks ago, where Lee Carsley went, Joe, the things that you're good at doing in football, go do that. And he was very, very good at it. Like, the days of the Joe, I don't know, the David Ginola, the Thierry Henry, the Dennis Bergkamp, just lads who rocked on and did mad shit. It's gone because the game is getting sanitized, and that whole, as you're saying, that personal brand thing. It's the only ones that are around are dying out. The last is Zlatan. It was the big mouthy man. Like, there's always going to be those personalities because you have that, like Ronaldo and Messi. It was like the good and the bad, even though Messi avoided taxes. But the perception is Ronaldo bad, Messi good.
Allegedly.
No, he got charged for that. You can say that.
Cool. He did it. I don't know. I don't think that Haaland's strongest and most apparent personality trait from this is the charm and flair of David Ginola. I think the boy just made himself look like a prick, to be honest.
Actually, one of my favourite people to watch doing interviews is Michael Elise.
Really?
Must watch a Michael Elise interview.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
It was like, how do you think this league compares to the English league? I don't know, I haven't played a game yet. I'll tell you in a few weeks.
Brilliant. I do like that honesty from footballers. But going back to your point, Jimmy, did he let himself down? Yes, I think he did. I don't have a problem with them displaying some sort of characteristic on verbally on a pitch. I think anyone who thinks that doesn't go on is a little bit short-sighted, because it happens. I think when it starts getting physical, that's where the line is, and that's where it needs to be clamped down.
Sure.
I mean, look, going all the way, but you could name 100 players who talk shite on the pitch, but held themselves in a good way, and will be classed as role models for kids, etc. I think where Haaland let himself down at the weekend was that, that image of him throwing the ball off another player's head. That's over the line for me.
Okay, fair enough. Our fixtures this weekend and what's happening in the Premier League. We've got some interesting matchups. Dean, do you know who you're playing?
No. Who was it?
You've got Damien. Jimmy has the Cav Bowl, but more on that in a moment. Gary has got Joey. And I have got, who's Kinder Bueno? Is that Dave?
Dave,
Dave, I've got Dave. So I got 3 points. I'm good. I've got an easy win.
I would say
is coming third, John, and you are coming
third. Well, no, what's after third? Fourth.
Level on points, 9 points, both in the playoffs. I'm Gucci. It's going to be a handy win.
He's outscored you by 30% total points year to date. He is the third highest scoring team, where you are sixth.
It's fine.
All I can see now is that dog.
Strikers as well.
I'm not concerned. We'll be fine.
Yeah.
Form suggests that he will lose, though, because it's win, loss, win, loss, win. So
there is a pattern there. Yeah,
there is a pattern.
Like his team was auto. I know it wasn't auto pick. It was Dino pick, wasn't it?
Who's that?
Didn't you pick Dave's team?
No.
You drafted.
No,
or was he?
It was the auto pick this year.
It was auto. Which is particularly painful for me.
So he's heavy on West Ham, Bournemouth. It happens the best of us, Gary. It happens. Well, not the best of us. All the rest of you. It doesn't happen to me.
Dean's on a 2-game losing streak because he was illegal in one of those leagues. And playing Damien. Damien Hill is
nowhere.
Yeah, they're level.
I think he'll score Damien in every week so far, so I'm not really concerned.
Yeah, Damien, to your credit, Dino, you're the only one who's beaten me so far. Week 2. Well done.
We're all bragging about that. It doesn't seem like something worth bragging about, but I'll take it, I suppose.
Do you know what?
I'm just thankful it's happened because we can't have 2 unbeaten Cavs in the league.
You can't have 2
Johnny Rogers, actually.
So Dermot's on 15 points and I'm on
this weekend.
We're playing each other this weekend. So in the worst case scenario,
two losers, is that what we're looking for?
That's what you were all looking for, but you ain't going to get it. If I lose, I'll
get 2 league teams.
Yeah, I'll still have a plus 283 there of a buffer. So I'll be second or first at the end of this week, and Dermot will be second or first. The only question is, will we be level on points, or will he go 6 points clear after 6 weeks? Which
I'm happy with him going 6 points clear because crumbling he's had.
You couldn't be listening to me in first place. I don't think anybody listening to this is prepared. The men of the league, men and women of the league, have for the last 10 years occasionally had to put up with scenarios where I was winning something, at which point every atom in my body melts into a kind of bright light of pure obnoxious shit talk 24/7. And that's what you can look forward to if I beat Dermot this week. I will be unbelievably annoying about it. So stay tuned. In other matches, Joey lost and has gone bottom because of Jack's first win this week. Fair play to him. Who did Jack manage to take down? It was Joey he beat. with a very healthy 140 points this week, no less.
There
So
was some high scores last week.
Jack has been very unlucky. He's happened to play everybody on like one of their strongest weeks. Comes into the league and gets absolutely rinsed and repeated for the first 4 weeks. But I think he's got the grips with it. I think he's figured it out now.
I think you need to take that sort of rinsing when you first come in.
Yeah, he knows what he's doing. And
It's the only way you learn.
And it's our two new boys as the two bottoms this year. It's Jack and Joey.
Yeah.
Joey currently in a 3 game this week.
But Joey's a long way from a new guy now. New for about 8 years. Like, he comes and goes. He's like the summer. Well, look, it's a nice tight table. Like, no matter what way you square it, aside from possible permutations in the top two, there's 6 points between second and 10th. So there isn't really
Yeah, I guess that. But
table yet. Not really. Dermot's had a really strong start.
But have you been looking at the fixtures this weekend? There's a few interesting matchups, and if your team is a bit stacked in the wrong direction, you could be in trouble. So the early kickoff on Saturday is Newcastle and City, followed by Arsenal Leicester, Brentford West Ham, Chelsea Brighton, Everton Palace, Fulham Nottingham, and Wolves Liverpool. And then on Sunday we have the Ipswich Villa and United Spurs.
Yeah, United Spurs the one to watch there, I think. That's two teams trying to prove themselves worthy of being in the top half of the Premier League and only starting to do so lately. Interesting one, actually, on the numbers. If you take a look at the performance of defenders for the last 14 days on Fantrack, or Opta, or Statr, or wherever you get your stats, you will see that most of the top 10 are the United backline. They have 2 away clean sheets. Now, it's United, so never trust them, never believe in them. Paraphrasing Captain Kirk there. And it was Crystal Palace and Southampton are not quite an attacking powerhouse, but Palace are always a mixed bag. You never know what you're going to get at Selhurst. And they've held 2 clean sheets in 2 away games. So there may be a pattern developing there. Maybe you should all run out and pick up United defenders and let me get the good players.
Well, Spurs can't shoot for shit either, so that's quite useful.
Yeah, terrible start to the year for Spurs. Really, really terrible, but they're clawing their way back up now. Looking forward to Chelsea Brighton. That's going to be fun.
That's going to be interesting. Both teams with some decent attacking options.
Chelsea have been fucking doing really well this year, and Nicholas Jackson has surprisingly been fucking netting a few goals.
Celebrating his new 9-year contract.
Continue that long term, but they have been doing quite well so far this season.
They have been, but I have my problem with the Chelsea team. It's one of those ones. Like they have great strength at depth at the moment because, like, up front on the left they have Modric, who's thrown his toys out of the pram, wants to leave because he's now 5th choice winger because they have Pedro, they have Neto, they have Sancho, they have fucking Madueke, Felix, Nkunku, Jackson. Who am I missing? There's 2 more. Yeah, they've got basically 3 first choice front lines that they can rotate between.
Also, Modric is too shit to get on the team. Can we just remember that Modric has not paid off for Chelsea at all?
It's fine at the moment when they're all competing against each other for those positions, but like when these lads are on these death row contracts, in a few weeks' time when your man settles on his preferred choice, what's going to happen there? The rest of them are going to be chilling and being like, yeah, sure, it's grand. Or are they going to start doing a Modric and being shitty? So, like, that dressing room has the potential to go septic super fast.
What? They're doing it on the pitch?
They're doing it at the moment.
Haven't seen it in a while. Jackson in particular was kind of, I don't want to say a sleeper, but I think we all knew the potential was there all the way through last year when that club was kind of realigning itself, shall we say.
Nice way of saying they were a shit show, but okay.
They were a mess. They were a large collection of players, but nothing resembling a team. But Jackson now seems to be benefiting from the Cole Palmer touch. There seems to be some sort of partnership emerging there now that the squad has settled down a little bit, and Jackson is putting the thing in the hole at a rather alarming rate. Dino dead right there. I'm still not sure about them at the back, but I did bring in one of their players this week, brought in Levi Colwell, just because Ethan Pinnock has been a little bit disappointed for Brentford because Brentford are still a shit show. They have actually that's a team to watch in terms of numbers because I know we all love, like, everybody who plays next door loves Mbeumo and Wissa, but Brentford have had a fairly poor start to the season results wise. They have their nice stretch of games over the next 5 or 6. So if you want to have a little bit of faith and stand by your man with your Brentford players, do it now. If they don't do it now, they're not going to do it for the rest of the season. I am keeping Mbeumo because he's fire, but I had to get rid of Pinnock because I don't think they are going to do it this year. I think they're going to be a proper relegation prospect this year. But, we'll see.
Talk to me, Gary.
Yeah, I don't know about Brentford. I think they'll go on a stretch run of games. They've got West Ham this week. West Ham have been a bit of an anomaly. Which is strange considering they've had a change. They had a change in management. You would have thought that to be some sort of bump, but yeah, I think Brentford would be good. I think they might sneak a result against West Ham. I actually think taking Pinnock out and bringing in Caldwell is a mistake because I reckon there's a clean sheet to be had there this weekend for Brentford. But you wouldn't know. West Ham could turn up and look like Real Madrid either. It's a strange one. For me, I think the biggest potential banana skin, and I hate saying this because I've got Robbo in my team, is Liverpool Wolves. And I know people will look at that and go, Wolves have been shit.
Yeah, that's literally what I was about to say. I was like, judging by how Liverpool have played so far, surely they steamroll that.
Wolves have generally been a pretty much a bogey team for Liverpool, and they don't like playing the kind of lower teams away. You would have thought Nottingham Forest, for any fans that are out there, because they'll kill me if I call it Notts Forest. You would have thought Liverpool would have steamrolled them. It's at Anfield. We all know what happened there. Yes, Liverpool
Forest have been great this year. Forest have been great this year. They're what are they, 7th?
But you would have thought with the way Liverpool have been playing, and they've kept 3 clean sheets, I think, this year so far in the league. You would have thought that they would be able to win that maybe 2 or 3-0. I actually think Wolves will nick that. I think it'll be a 1-0 to Wolves type job.
So are we saying our 3 highlighted matches for the weekend are going to be Brentford, West Ham, Wolves, Liverpool, and United, Spurs?
Brighton is going to be an all-out attack in both directions. I wouldn't switch away from Newcastle City either. Newcastle have a lot to prove in their home.
Well, I want 3. I want each of you to pick one game that's going to be your highlight of the week and give me the winner. Chelsea, Brighton, who are you backing? Obviously, you're backing 2-1.
Unbeaten this year so far.
I mean, you know what to say about backing dirty kickoff, but I could really see fucking City putting 4 past Newcastle. Newcastle have not been on form this season at all. They've been leaking goals. I could see that being a 4-1 again for City against Newcastle.
Fabian Schär.
City are away from home, but yeah.
Does that mean you're not going to stand by your man?
Well, is he on the bench yet? If he's not, he will be on the bench because.
You've heard it here first, folks.
He's on the bench already. Yeah. So.
I am shocked and aroused to hear.
And I also put Dunderman on the bench because I know for a fact United will go up with 5 past Spurs.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going for a 2-2 draw with that. That's my highlight for the weekend is United Spurs. I think it'll finish 2-2.
Yeah, high scoring draw sounds right. Yeah. And we were right about this a couple of weeks ago, were we not?
And I'm going to go for me. My highlighted game of the weekend will be Nottingham Forest Fulham. I'm going on that train because I think that's going to be a very active game. Fulham went with 3 past Newcastle last week. It looked very impressive. They're on a run, and Adama Traore is at his oiliest, sexiest, best. He'll be crap in 3 weeks, but I'm going 3-1 to Fulham over Nottingham Forest.
Well, Smith Rowe is looking like a Cole Palmer in a Fulham shirt right now. So
yes, he is.
Yeah, he's outstanding.
Yeah, he is.
It's Traore though.
Yeah, I know, but you still have like the Nottingham players who are like playing fucking really well. I mean, like I know they obviously give away
a potential cracker of a game. It's 2 teams.
Yeah, they are going to be missing Gibbs White though, which will be a big loss for them. But
he will. He would definitely will. And
I think I
Ward
will.
hasn't really kicked on yet.
I think I was seeing the other day actually that new Liverpool fella, Chiesa,
Chiesa.
Chiesa, whatever his name is. Yeah,
He is actually starting in the Carabao Cup tonight.
Oh, is he?
Is he?
Yeah.
And let me see how they are doing.
Just everybody hastily looks at the screen to the side of the screen to
see how we go. It's currently 1-1 with Chiesa actually getting an assist.
Diaz
has been on real form.
And we've got Manchester United 1-0 up against FC 20 in Europe.
I'm just throwing on
Christian Eriksen doing bits. Which, by the way, nobody has. I'm not picking up another Man United midfielder because that's the last thing I need. But that brings me nicely on to who is going to be each of your picks of the week. Give me a player that you think, apart from the big sexy Viking, wow, that's 2 players I've called sexy in the last 5 minutes. I have a problem. But anyway, who is going to be the players that you decide is going to be the one to impact your team this weekend the most? They might be on another team. They might already be in your team. Who's your player of the week that you need?
Harvey Barnes is going to play part of the game for a losing team, and he's still going to score more points than most people to play 90. That's what he's done for the last 4 weeks. The man is... he's just... I feel about him the way Dean feels about Schär. Except that he gets points. He will play out of his skin. There will... Any bit of attacking that can be done against City in a home fixture for Newcastle will be done by Harvey Barnes. He has been absolutely shiny for me for the last 2-3 weeks. Can't believe nobody else picked him up. But he's my guy this week because I think what he's going to do is he's not going to be the highest scoring player. But what he's going to do is he's going to outscore the rest of his own team in a very difficult one. And that's kind of what you keep an eye out for, because those are the guys who are good long.
I think for my team, I think Duran is going to get a start for Villa because he's in much better form than Watkins, and they're playing Ipswich away, and I can see him putting 1 or 2 passes. I think he'll definitely get a goal this weekend against Ipswich. He might even get 2, but I definitely see him starting over Ollie Watkins because he's been scoring more goals than Watkins. I think he probably has more goals this season than Watkins. I think Watkins has 1 so far, whereas Duran has 3, I think.
Watkins will start, but yeah, I can see what you're saying against Ipswich. He'll come on.
Yeah. Other than that, just taking form, the form that Spurs are in. United might sneak a clean sheet back against them. If they do, Martinez and Dallo could get me 30 points between the 2 of them. So, but yeah, no, Duran. No, I'm sticking with my boy. I think he could be a good sider for me as the season goes on. So I think he'll do damage this weekend.
I think that hit form and he stops playing.
Quick stat check there for you, boys. Watkins has 3, Duran has 4 year to date.
Yeah, and I think all of them were probably coming off the bench for Duran. So
they were. Yeah.
So now, obviously, you want to have that impact sub as well. You don't want to rock the boat by taking an impact sub who scored 4 goals off the bench and start starting him. So it could very well remain on the bench for the entire season, but. You want your starting striker to be netting a few goals as well. And if Watkins isn't netting them as much as Duran, well then, mix it up a bit maybe. But he also didn't he score? I don't know. I think he scored the other day a penalty, like I was saying. But while they're in the Carabao Cup as well, they might start Duran in the Carabao. And he might find some form as well. It's hard to say. We're talking 2 months down the line to see whether or not he becomes a regular starter or not, but yeah.
For me, there's 2 players. First of all, Nkieta for Palace, who I brought in 2 weeks ago. Hasn't done the business yet, but they are against the shit show that is Everton at Goodison Park. They are going up against Jordan Pickford, who loves nothing better than to let in 3 goals in the last 10 minutes. So I'm hoping that Nkieta gets a goal, maybe a couple of assists. That would be super. But I am going to put my money where my mouth is, and I am going to swap out Caoimhín Kelleher, who will play this weekend because Alisson is injured, for Jose Sa, who I think Yes, I am. I'm going to take the chance because I think there is a possibility of him having an absolute whirly. So I did say that I think Wolves will beat Liverpool this weekend. I am absolutely going to back that up by playing Sa instead of Kelleher in goal.
Interesting.
I mean, look, at your end of the table, you can afford to take those kind of gambles. Filling that spot for a while. Do I have that wrong?
You could be possible. That is possible. I didn't look because as soon as I seen Alisson was injured, I swapped in Kelleher because I knew he would play.
Oh, sure, that was a great play. I just, you know what? As I'm saying,
so I actually didn't check. So that is possible.
You know what? I'm wondering why I've even said it out loud. Go for it, Gary.
Thank you for that, Jimmy. So I won't be playing Jose Sa in goal now. And it's a shame that I've already made my substitution or my transfer for this week by bringing Sami Smodic.
Interesting transfer.
Who could be a bit of a sleeper, and particularly when Ipswich are playing teams like Villa, he could be very interesting. As could Liam Delap, who I can't understand how anyone has brought him.
Have you actioned that transfer yet, or have you?
Doing it live, boys. Doing it live.
Sami Smodic, I have actioned, yes.
It has not been processed, but it's just about to be. Who was it you were dropping? Palmer, was it?
Nice try. I believe it was Reece Glass hamstring James. Yeah, hamstrings are made of wood.
That's the right play, I think, sir. That is the right play.
Yeah, the player I'd want to be bringing, like I'm going a slightly different routine. I'm looking at year teams and who I'd like to take. This week, I'd be looking at Ben White.
Yeah.
If I was to be looking at, I'd be looking at Arsenal defenders this weekend. They're playing Leicester. I have Calafiori. I'd like another Arsenal fullback. I think Cala is going to play after that outrageous goal that he scored last week. I think he'd be straight in again. I think Ben White is a solid on the other side. I'd like to have two Arsenal defender fullbacks, especially going into this weekend. That would be my call. Anyway, we're going to wrap up in a minute, but guess what? Guess what it's time for? Jimmy, do you have a jingle this week? It's the quiz.
It's a Jon quiz. It's a Jon quiz. No one ever expects a Jon quiz except Jon does, because he was up all night writing the Jon quiz. Jon quiz.
So same rules as last time, guys. First of all, if you have another screen, I want to close it. I don't want you cheating, Dean. There's going to be 10 questions. You each get one crack at answering the question, and you get one comeback. So after everybody's been knocked out, I'll say back in, and you get to go again. And I have a bonus question just in case it's back in. I don't think it will be. Gary is our reigning champion with one quiz on the table so far this season. So when you are we ready?
Yeah.
Good to go.
Jimmy, good to go? Right. So, question 1. Who has scored the fastest goal in the Premier League history?
Brian Dean.
Who?
Brian Dean.
No.
Oh, actually, no. I know who it is now.
I think it's I'm pretty sure I know what team it is, but I don't want to say, obviously.
Lads, you're going to be disgusted when you hear this. Go on.
Well, we get one comeback, don't we?
You do get a comeback.
I have
no idea, so I'm going to.
Actually, it was.
I'm going to say Jesus.
And I bloody know who it is now.
No.
Jimmy, any guesses there? No.
We back in?
I haven't a clue. I'm going to say.
We'll have to wait for
Shane
Long.
Long?
Shane Long, yeah, Dean 1-0.
Yeah. Fuck yeah. I knew I saw that, but yeah. That was what was that, 2 years ago?
2017 or something like that. Long time
ago. Yeah. He actually, Brian Dean held the record up until Shane Long for 1992 for Leeds. There's one for you now.
Right. Question 2, we talked about this earlier in the podcast. Who is the top goal scorer in the WSL history? Recently signed for City.
The player whose name you couldn't mention because you butchered it.
No. Midema.
Jimmy.
Midema.
That's the one. Jimmy, 1-0 Gary.
Yeah, you were one.
You're going to have to scratch up. Question 3. What goalkeeper has the record for the most saves in an individual Premier League game?
Jordan Pickford.
Jose Sa?
No. Dean's processing down there.
Pickford anyway. I don't know. Fucking David De Gea. I don't know.
Yeah, it's David De Gea. David De Gea in 2017, 14 saves. That was the holy goalie Dave Saves game where he saved like 7 of them with his feet as well. Also setting the record for that in the same game. It was absolutely glorious to watch, to be honest with you. Now, there's your fun fact. Right, question 4. Which team has missed the most big chances this season in the Prem?
United.
Well done, Gary.
United.
Man United.
You mean 1, Gary 1. Which Premier League game last weekend broke the record for the most bookings in a single match?
Chelsea.
Chelsea, Jimmy.
Oh shit.
14.
Now, starter-based question. Who was the highest scoring midfielder in our game last week?
Midfielder last week. Luis Diaz?
No, he's a forward.
Oh, instead, or is he?
Cole Palmer.
No.
Harvey Barnes?
No. Back in we go.
Midfielder.
You're going to be disgusted when you hear this one.
Is it Madison?
It's James Madison. Jimmy, it takes the lead. Gary, you're about to lose your current quiz. Jimmy 3, Dean 2, Gary 1. I can't believe that quiz. Right. Another league-based question. I believe we discussed this one earlier. Which league legend had the highest scoring match week so far?
Dermot.
Jolly Rogers. Well done, Gary.
Thank you very much. As long as I don't finish last.
Right. Career path question, one of my favorites. I'm very proud of this one, might I add. I have played for Charlton, Norwich, Chelsea, Newcastle, West Ham, Tottenham, and Spurs.
Tottenham
and Spurs. The same.
Oh, Tottenham and Fulham, sorry. I had Tottenham Hotspurs, and I'm reading those two things. So I've played for Charlton, Norwich, Chelsea, Newcastle, West Ham, Tottenham, and Fulham. He's now a manager.
Scott Parker.
You're good at these guys.
Not bad.
It's nice.
The manager bit gave it away.
Yeah, fair. He actually has a Premier League title.
With Chelsea, wasn't it?
2004. He was part of that Chelsea team, the one that conceded the least goals. Scott Parker. What a random career. Right. There's an ex-Premier League goalkeeper who's also played ice hockey at a professional level. Can you tell me who he is?
Peter Cech.
Dean, 3-3-3. Ooh, I'm not getting a tiebreaker. This is going to the last question. Whoever gets it wins. Ooh. Who has managed the most Premier League teams?
Big Sam.
Yeah, Jimmy's our quiz winner. Jimmy with 4, Dean with 3, Gary with 3.
Oh.
And on the table, it means Jimmy has 1, Gary has 1, and Dean 0.
And the 7th seal opened because Jimmy won something. A sign of things to come later this week. If my brother is watching, enjoy the Cav Bowl, dear. You're going to lose your top spot.
Do you want the bonus question anyway?
Yeah.
Why not?
Why not? Right. Which WSL goalkeeper has recently swapped Manchester for Paris, moving from Manchester United to PSG.
The England goalkeeper, and I can't think of her name.
They're literally making a documentary on her moving there at the moment.
Must not Google.
She is the England number one.
Yeah, you know who you're talking.
Yeah, I know. I know. I just can't think of the name.
No idea.
Mary Earps. Mary Earps. That's the one. All right, boys. So I think we're all saying that we're all on for wins this weekend. When we come back next week, I'm expecting to see Dean and Jimmy having lost personally, because I think Damien's going to do terrible things to you, Dean. And see Fabian Schär, he's just going to let you down again.
Well, I look forward to proving you wrong.
That's
He's
fine.
going to hurt you, Dean. He's going to hurt your heart, buddy.
One of the few times I hope Dermot wins, because I cannot stand to have Jimmy on a podcast top of the league.
Yeah, no.
I will be wearing a suit.
Dermot,
If I'm first in the league next week when we do this podcast, I will be wearing a suit.
Dermot,
if you're listening, there's a Cole Palmer to be had if you want.
And that's why I love this league. Jimmy gets paid for his boots and we start trading to fuck him.
Bring it on, boys. Bring it on.
Right, come here. Just to sign off, we are currently working towards making this app. So head on over to the Statr site, join the waiting list. We are moving quite nicely with the waiting list. It's growing pretty much every day I look at it, which is lovely to see. And we're moving closer and closer. We're actually working on a bit of interface stuff at the moment. So we're hoping that in the foreseeable future, we actually have some vision boards to show off.
Woo.
Jimmy's been working his magic in the background on data and crunching and numbers and stuff. So yeah, head over, join the waiting list. If you're listening to the podcast, give us that review rating, 5 stars on Spotify. The more people who do that, the higher up the rankings we go, which means more people have to listen to us. And if there's any bullshit that you want to... Oh god.
Ron, can I say the young person YouTube thing? Smash that follow
to right down in the corner down here.
All right.
Did I do it right?